If you are a fan of sports, you know that every sport has an off season, regardless of whether it's women's sports or whether it is men's sports. Every sport has an off season. And so it got me thinking this past week, what is the definition of an off season? Well, according to Google, an off season is defined as a time of year when a particular activity, typically a sport, is not engaged in. And as I read that definition, I focused in on the words not engaged. And as a Christian, as a follower of Christ, there is never a time where you or I are not to be engaged. And there's a couple of reasons for that I want to highlight. First and foremost, we are fighting a war. Paul tells us in Ephesians that we are not fighting against flesh and blood, but we are fighting against principalities, we are fighting against powers, the rulers of the darkness of this world. We are fighting against spiritual wickedness. And in this war with spiritual wickedness, we are also fighting an enemy that is always on the hunt. Peter describes him in his letter as a roaring lion seeking whom he may devour. And you see, he is not looking for just the weak or the strong. He is particularly looking for the ones who are not engaged, the ones who are not paying attention, the ones who do not see him coming. Now, athletes, they approach the off season very differently. They work out to make themselves stronger. They prepare, they practice to become better at the game. And when they're tired mentally or physically, they rest. But they're doing all this in preparation for a season that is going to be coming. So how are we as Christians, as followers of Christ, to be preparing for the war that is going on even now? Well, first and foremost, the attitude that Peter tells us to have is to be sober and to be vigilant. And then Paul tells us in his letters, he uses athletic terms such as running, fighting, boxing. We are to be engaged in spiritual warfare. And you may say, Brandon, I have been fighting. And mentally and physically, I am tired. Well, I want to encourage you today and let you know that you are not alone in this fight. You have the church, the body of believers, both in your town and around the world, who are fighting with you. You have the Word of God, which is your weapon that is able to defeat the spiritual darkness that is around you. But most of all, you have Jesus Christ. You have the Son of God, who ultimately is fighting with you as he promised. And so today I encourage you to be in the mindset of not being in an off season. Be in the mindset of being sober and being vigilant and fighting against a spiritual warfare, so that when the time comes and you see Jesus face to face, you will hear those glorious words, "Well done, thou good and faithful servant. Enter into your rest."